the 2030 brain trap, why your current routine is aging your mind, and the 60-second reset. Your routine might be perfect for today, but it's quietly aging your brain for 2030. The top 1% optimize for a younger brain in the future, not just a productive morning now. The hidden enemy? Microhabits that nudge synapses the wrong way, doom scrolling, constant task switching, late caffeine. That drift shows up as weaker synaptic plasticity, your brain's LTP and LTD, and worn-down executive control signals in the frontal pole and DLPFC, especially BA10. There's a 60-second reset that drops cortisol and boosts executive control by engaging your vagus nerve and Baroreflex, coming up in under a minute. But here's the trap. If you keep your current loop, you set up a 2030 brain with slower recall, fractured focus, and a flattened cortisol slope that makes every afternoon feel like a sludge march. In this session, I'll give you a nervous system-first protocol to reverse that drift. One habit isn't what you think, and the best reset isn't breathwork alone. Orienting and pressure matter. Here's the quick win. 4 rounds of 7-count nasal breaths. Keep your tongue on the roof of your mouth. Now press your palms together smoothly for 10 seconds to add gentle pressure, then release. Finally, do an orienting sweep. Turn your head and let your eyes land on 3 distant corners and 3 near objects. That's it. Why this works? Nasal breathing and tongue to palate engage the vagus nerve for a parasympathetic downshift. The palm press raises baroreceptor pressure, triggering the Baroreflex to lower heart rate and cortisol. Orienting stabilizes your visual spatial map and breaks flicker-driven hypervigilance from screens. Test it, rate your focus right now, do the reset, rate again. Expect faster re-entry to your task and crisper executive control. Quick wins secured. Now let's unpack the hidden mechanics so the change actually sticks. Why your routine ages your brain, the hidden cost curve. Most people try to outrun fatigue with speed. They stack tabs, ping-pong between tasks, and sip caffeine whenever the dip hits. It feels efficient. But the thing most people miss is that the brain keeps score, not by hours, but by plasticity. Every microdose of distraction pushes long-term potentiation and depression, LTP and LTD, toward noise. Over weeks, that noise blurs signal strength in the very circuits you need for thinking clearly. This clicked for me when a client said, "I'm busy all day but can't remember what I did." We pulled usage logs, hundreds of tiny switches between apps. That's not just willpower leakage. Task switching hammers executive control in your prefrontal cortex, especially BA10 and the DLPFC, like riding the brakes on a downhill. You still move, but you're burning the system that lets you steer. Do it daily, and the brain adapts the wrong way. Synapses wire for shallow, fast stimuli, not sustained encoding. The reason this matters is compounding. Focus compounds like interest. When you protect long stretches of clean attention, your tonic dopamine tone stabilizes. You feel steady motivation without chasing novelty spikes. But variable ratio novelty, doom scrolling, swipe feeds, trains your reward system to expect jackpots. It overstimulates the ventral striatum and delays alpha recovery after you put the phone down. You feel tired but wired, which tricks you into seeking more easy novelty. That's the fatigue flywheel. Now here's where most people mess up with caffeine. They use it as a bandage, not a tool. Caffeine blocks adenosine receptors. If you drink it too early, before your body clears the overnight adenosine, roughly the first 90 to 120 minutes, you just shove that adenosine problem downstream. When the caffeine wears off, the backlog crashes you. Late-day caffeine is worse. The 4 to 6 hour half-life, it bleeds into the window when you need slow-wave sleep for consolidation. You feel alert at night, then groggy tomorrow, then you drink earlier and later again. That's how a helpful tool becomes a hidden drain. Before we continue, you need to understand the circadian piece. Inconsistent wake times create micro-jet-lag. Even without travel, shifting your schedule on weekends flattens your cortisol slope and dents working memory. You think you're catching up on sleep, but you're actually desynchronizing peripheral clocks across your body. Monday becomes a reentry crash. That crash pushes you toward more caffeine, more scrolling, more task switching. See the loop. The game changer nobody talks about is safety signals. Your nervous system doesn't feel safe, hypervigilant from news flicker, looming, have-to-lists, constant notifications. Your attention narrows and skims. You're scanning for threat, not building competence. That state burns prefrontal bandwidth and makes every decision feel heavier. It's not that you lack discipline. Your system is overclocked by design choices. Let me show you exactly how this shows up across a week. Monday morning, you wake late from weekend drift. No morning light, quick coffee immediately. You jump into email, Slack, and headlines, 5 switches in 5 minutes. Your DLPFC goes into arbitration mode, spending energy deciding what to ignore. 10 minutes later, you reward yourself with a 30-second scroll. That variable ratio slot machine drip hits, and now your baseline wants more. By noon, you've toggled 50 times. Plastically, you've told your brain, short, shiny, reactive is the job. When it's time for deep work, entry feels like pushing a car uphill. Once you nail this concept, everything else clicks. You don't have a productivity problem, you have a nervous system load problem. And the costs stack invisibly. Compromised LTP-LTD balance reduces encoding efficiency. Delayed alpha recovery bloats reentry time between tasks. Executive control in BA10 gets noisy, so you misjudge effort and bail early. That's why faster pacing feels worse the longer you try it. You're training fragility. Don't do what I did the first time, trying to fix output with more output. I added timers, new apps, and stricter schedules while leaving the core drains in place. My focus windows got shorter and my evenings got more wired. The shortcut nobody teaches is to reverse the order. Stabilize your nervous system first, then layer structure. When you drop cortisol peaks and re-engage vagal tone during the day, your brain trusts you again. Executive control comes back online, and the same tasks feel lighter. If you remember nothing else, remember this. Your daily microhabits are choosing your 2030 brain. Keep the current loop, and you get slower recall, fractured focus, and a flattened slope that forces you to fight all day. Shift the loop, and you grow a calmer, younger-feeling brain that enters deep work on command. Next, I'll show you the map of the 4 microhabits that quietly age synapses and the phase-based system that rebuilds plasticity while you work. The 2030 Brain Trap Map, 4 microhabits that quietly age synapses. Let's map the 4 quiet drains so you can spot them in your day and start reclaiming plasticity without overhauling your life. First, Micro-Jetlag. This isn't about planes. It's the weekend swing or the I'll sleep in tomorrow move that shifts your wake time by an hour or 2. Your brain reads that as misalignment. When your wake time drifts, circadian amplitude flattens, your cortisol slope blurs, and working memory drops. Monday feels like wading through syrup because your internal clocks, brain, gut, liver, aren't talking in sync. The fix is counterintuitive. Anchor wake time before you try to fix bedtime. A consistent get-up time plus morning light tells the system we're safe and on schedule, which lifts executive control. Do it for 7 days, and you'll notice reentry to work blocks getting easier, even if sleep isn't perfect yet. Second, flicker fatigue. High refresh feeds run on variable ratio rewards, the same reinforcement schedule casinos love. Your attention system gets yanked into tiny prediction loops. Maybe this next clip pays off. That loop overstimulates ventral striatum and delays alpha recovery even after you put the phone down. You feel restless focus, eyes moving, brain not landing. The thing most people miss is the time tax after scrolling. It's not the 2 minutes you spend, it's the 5 to 15 minutes of subpar encoding that follows. If you've ever stared at a paragraph 3 times and still couldn't hold it, that's delayed alpha recovery in action. Add a 90-second friction buffer before opening dopamine apps, a home screen purge, and a 2-tap barrier, and you'll cut accidental entries. Then pair any necessary scroll with a 60-second reset afterward to clear the flicker residue and restore tonic attention. Third, caffeine timing drift. Caffeine's not the villain, timing is. It blocks adenosine, which is fine when adenosine is low. But hit coffee immediately after waking, before your body clears the overnight adenosine, and you just push that sleep pressure backlog into the afternoon. Then the crash hits, you sip again, and now you're drifting caffeine toward late day when its 4-6-hour half-life steals slow-wave sleep. Poor slow-wave sleep hurts LTP consolidation, so your next day's learning feels muddy. The simple rule: delay caffeine 90-120 minutes after wake to let adenosine clear naturally, and set a hard cutoff 8-10 hours before bed. That preserves the night's consolidation window and steadies daytime executive control. Expect a tough first 3 days if you've been drinking early. After that, baseline energy evens out and those 2 p.m. dives shrink. Fourth, fragmented micro-commitments. This one hides under good intentions. I have to reply. I should check. I'll just skim the doc. Dozens of small, unscheduled obligations stack into a constant low-grade threat state. Your DLPFC spends bandwidth arbitrating mismatched priorities, which feels like indecision but is actually overload. Autonomy drops, allostatic load rises, and your system defaults to shallow tasks for relief. The reframe is tiny and powerful. Change, I have to I choose to because. You're not lying to yourself, you're restoring agency. Then batch similar micro-commitments into short, visible windows. A 15-minute reply block with a timer and a single input list protects the rest of your day from 1,000 cuts. You'll feel the difference by lunch, more follow-through, less mental clutter. Now, why do these four steal 25% of cognitive elasticity per quarter? Because together they push plasticity to adapt for short, reactive cycles. Micro-Jetlag dulls time-of-day consistency, so blocks feel mise-timed. Flicker fatigue trains short prediction loops, so sustained encoding sputters. Caffeine drift blurs the day-night learning handoff. Micro-commitments sap autonomy, which the brain reads as unsafety, tightening attention into threat scanning. That's LTP-LTD drift and PFC overload baked into lifestyle. Here's the shortcut nobody teaches. You don't need heroics to turn this. Use minimum viable momentum. 1 anchor per drain, short enough to do on your worst day. For micro-jet-lag, lock wake time inside a 30-minute window and get 2 minutes of outdoor light within 30 minutes of waking, even on cloudy days. For flicker fatigue, grayscale your dopamine app and add a 2-tap barrier today. Tomorrow, pair any opening with a 60-second reset on exit. For caffeine drift, set your coffee alarm 90 minutes post-wake and move your last cup earlier by 30 minutes each day until it's 8-10 hours pre-bed. For micro-commitments, write a single reply window card and run 1 15-minute batch before lunch. Quick micro story: a client who swore they weren't a morning person locked wake time, added 2 minutes of outdoor light, and delayed caffeine by 90 minutes. Day 3 was rough. Day 6, their first deep work block started on time without the usual warm-up scroll. The difference wasn't motivation, it was restored circadian amplitude and a calmer prefrontal signal. Once you start these anchors, stack awareness. Notice when you're about to swing wake time, when a feed pulls you in, when you reach for a late coffee, when a have to sneaks into your language. That's the moment to drop the 60-second reset and choose the anchor. It's not punishment, it's a vote for the 2030 brain you want. Next, we'll shift from map to method, the 4-phase neuro-regeneration system that rebuilds plasticity while you work. The 4-phase neuro-regeneration system, overview. Now that you can spot the drains, here's the system that rebuilds your brain while you work. 4 phases, each with one job: stabilize, rewire, load, sustain. We'll move from safety to speed, not the other way around, because a calm nervous system makes every tactic work better and stick longer. Phase 1 is stabilize. The goal here is simple: restore a safety-first baseline so your prefrontal cortex isn't firefighting all day. We increase circadian amplitude and vagal tone so cortisol peaks and dips land where they should, and executive control gets reliable again. The minimum viable momentum anchor is tiny. Lock your wake time inside a 30-minute window, get real morning light, and run the 60-second reset 3 to 4 times at natural friction points. The breathing plus tongue to palate hits the vagus. The palm press engages baroreceptors. The orienting sweep calms that flicker-induced hypervigilance. When your system gets these safety signals, block entry effort drops fast. Phase 2 is rewire. With safety in place, we engineer attention cycles so BA10 and the DLPFC stop hemorrhaging energy to switches. Predictable novelty beats chaotic novelty. You'll run either a 50-10 or a 25-5 rhythm based on your current bandwidth, and you'll shape friction in your environment to block variable ratio traps. That means a home screen purge, a 2-tap barrier on dopamine apps, grayscale on at least 1 feed, and notifications bundled to digest windows. The anchor here is a 90-second pre-block ritual. Quick orienting sweep, 1 round of nasal breathing, then set a visible timer. You're telling your brain this is safe, this is bounded, this will end, which preserves tonic motivation and speeds alpha recovery between blocks. Phase 3 is load. This is where we grow competence on purpose so dopamine tone stabilizes without cheap novelty. You'll build a skill ladder. Define the next hardest unit you can finish in 1 block, not the final outcome. Then you'll preload cues, checklist ready, Files open, timer armed, micro stakes set. Add the pre-work variant of the 60-second reset to prime the PFC. Slightly slower exhale, longer palm press, brief orienting to your work target. The idea is to make the first ugly rep happen within 3 minutes. Consistent first reps drive LTP, which consolidates during slow wave sleep, protected by your caffeine cutoff from earlier, and over 6 to 8 weeks you'll feel recall speed up. You won't need to hype yourself, your wiring will prefer depth. Phase 4 is sustain. Behavior follows identity, and identity needs evidence. We protect DLPFC bandwidth by removing decision thrash and locking in autonomy. You'll use I choose to because scripts for recurring tasks, then run a weekly 3-line identity review. 1 line on autonomy you exercised, 1 on competence you earned, 1 on safety you protected. That keeps your narrative aligned with your actions, which prevents the quiet slide back to dopamine drains. The anchor is a 6-minute Friday ritual. Scan your week, update your competence ledger, schedule next week's wake time, and pre-book 2 reset placements at your usual drop-off points, often around the 70% mark of hard sessions. A quick reality check. You don't have to master all 4 at once. Think staircase, not elevator. Stabilize gives you clean fuel, circadian amplitude, and vagal tone. Rewire fixes the leaks, task switch friction, and variable ratio traps. Load builds the engine, competence-driven plasticity. Sustain keeps you from ripping the battery out on a whim, identity and autonomy locks. Each phase has a 60-120-second anchor, so you can maintain momentum even on messy days. Here's the payoff path you'll feel. First, calmer mornings with easier block entry. Then, fewer restless scroll urges and faster reentry after interruptions. Next, deeper work that starts quicker and finishes cleaner. Finally, a steady, low-drama rhythm that makes tough projects feel doable without heroics. Safety before speed, structure before effort, competence before intensity. With that order, your 2030 brain gets younger
Phase
while
1,
you work today.
stabilize safety before speed.
If your system doesn't feel safe, focus never gets deep. So we start here. Stabilize your nervous system so executive control comes back online and stays there. When vagal tone is low, the stress side dominates, cortisol spikes at the wrong times, and BA10 burns bandwidth scanning rather than steering. Raise vagal tone and you drop cortisol, widen attentional bandwidth, and make every later tactic stick. Safety before speed isn't fluffy. It's how you get your prefrontal cortex to trust you again. Here's the goal for this phase. Build a steady baseline that restores circadian amplitude and gives you reliable reentry after interruptions. We'll use the 3 levers, autonomy, competence, safety, to keep this practical. Autonomy lowers allostatic load, competence steadies dopamine tone, safety lifts executive control. If you're rushing, you're missing one of those levers. Let's fix that with 2 anchors you can keep even on a messy Tuesday. Anchor 1 is the circadian gate. Lock your wake time inside a 30-minute window, 7 days straight. Don't start with bedtime. That's the mistake most people make. Wake time is the steering wheel. When you get up at a consistent time and step into real morning light, you send your suprachiasmatic nucleus a clean time stamp. That strengthens your circadian amplitude so cortisol peaks earlier, energy rises smoother, and working memory clears up. Even without perfect sleep, you'll feel a sharper go signal during your first block by day 4 or 5. Run this exactly. Tonight, set a wake alarm and a lights down reminder that's optional. Tomorrow, when the alarm rings, stand up, open a window or door, and get 2 minutes of outdoor light. Cloudy is fine. It's the intensity and full spectrum cue that matters. No sunglasses for those 2 minutes. Hold caffeine for 90 to 120 minutes after waking so your adenosine clears naturally. That delay is a small test of stability and a big signal to your body clock. After 3 mornings, the early jitter fades and your baseline smooths. Now anchor 2, the 60-second reset cadence. You're not going to spam breathwork. You're going to place 4 quick resets at natural friction points, right before your first work block, after any interruption longer than 1 minute, around the 70% mark of a hard session, and once after lunch. Do the default sequence, 4 rounds of 7-count nasal breaths with tongue on the palate, then a gentle palm press for 10 seconds, then an orienting sweep. Land eyes on 3 far points, 3 near points. You're engaging the vagus for a parasympathetic downshift, hitting baroreceptors to nudge heart rate and cortisol down, and resetting visual spatial maps that screens scramble. The combo tells your nervous system, No threat. Resume executive mode. Let me show you exactly how to layer both anchors into a day. Wake at the same time, 2 minutes of outdoor light. Start water or breakfast tasks with a calm pace, no doom headlines, no inbox. At the 60-minute mark, if you feel a pull to check, drop one reset. That's your first safety ping. When you sit to begin your first block, do a micro pre-block variant, 1 slow nasal breath, 5-second palm press, quick orienting to your task window. Timer on, mid-morning interruption. Reset before you resume. Lunch done? Walk for 5 minutes outside if you can. If not, orient from a window. Then 1 reset to wash out the post-meal fog. Late block at the 70% mark, reset again. You'll feel the second wind instead of falling off the cliff. Now the 3 levers audit to keep you honest. Autonomy, change I have to start to I choose to start because I want X, say it out loud before blocks. Competence, set a tiny, clear unit for the block, 1 outline page, 5 code tests, 10 cold emails drafted, so your brain sees a winnable game. Safety, place the reset and the timer so your system knows this has edges. It will end. That trio lowers background threat, which is the silent killer of focus. Common mistakes to avoid: overhauling sleep before you stabilize wake time, stacking new rules on top of a fried system, and turning the reset into a performance test. The reset is a circuit breaker, not a ritual to perfect. Another big one, trying to outlaw all notifications in one day. Don't. Phase 1 is not about friction walls, it's about re-establishing calm control signals so friction will work later. What should you feel in 7 days? A healthier diurnal slope. Alert earlier, steadier mid-morning, fewer 2 p.m. crashes. Easier block entry, less internal debate, faster first keystroke. Shorter recovery after interruptions because alpha settles faster when you've signaled safety. And a quieter urge to just check, since your dopamine system isn't being yanked by threat scanning all morning. Quick micro story. A PM I coach was stuck at 2 false starts before every block. We did nothing fancy, wake time lock, 2 minutes of morning light, delayed caffeine, and 4 placed resets. Day 2, still choppy. Day 5, first block launched on the first try. No app change, no new planner, just safety signals restoring prefrontal clarity. Once that baseline appeared, the rest of the system finally had something to stand on. Run phase 1 for 7 days. Don't race. Place the anchors, speak the autonomy script, and let your nervous system exhale. With safety in place, rewiring your attention cycles gets a lot easier. Next, we'll engineer those cycles so BA10 stops bleeding energy and deep work becomes your default. Phase 2, rewire attention cycle engineering. With your baseline calmer, we switch from safety to structure. The goal here is simple. Make your attention predictable so BA10 and the DLPFC stop bleeding energy from constant arbitration. Brains like novelty, but they do better with scheduled novelty than chaotic hits. So we're going to build rhythms, add smart friction, and use 1 short ritual that doubles your odds of entering a block clean. Start with rhythm. Pick a cycle that matches your current bandwidth. 25 minutes on with 5 off if you're rebuilding, or 50 on with 10 off if you're steadier. The thing most people miss is that the off minutes matter as much as the on. They're the reset window that protects tonic motivation and speeds alpha recovery, so you don't carry scroll residue into the next block. During the on window, single task. During the off, move your eyes off screens, stand, sip water, maybe do 1 round of slow nasal breathing. Keep it boring on purpose. If the break becomes mini entertainment, you're right back in variable ratio land. Now, friction shaping. You can't outdiscipline a slot machine in your pocket, so change the environment. Do a home screen purge, only work essentials on page 1, everything else 1 swipe away. Then add a 2-tap barrier for every dopamine app, put them in a folder inside a folder. That extra beat gives your executive control time to catch the impulse and choose. Next, grayscale at least 1 high-risk feed. Color is a cue for reward, take it away and you'll notice the urge drop. Finally, create notification funnels. Turn off real-time pings for anything non-critical and bundle them into 2 digest windows, 1 mid-morning, 1 late afternoon. You're converting thousands of micro-interruptions into 2 planned checks, which is how you protect BA10 from constant context flips. Before we continue, you need 1 keystone habit, the 90-second pre-block ritual. Do it right before you hit start on the timer. 1 orienting sweep, eyes land on 3 far points, 3 near points, Then one slow nasal inhale and a slightly longer exhale with your tongue on the palate. Gentle palm press for 10 seconds, then speak a micro-stake. I choose to do X for 25 minutes because Y, start the visible timer. This tiny sequence tells your nervous system, safe, bounded, meaningful. It primes the DLPFC for steering instead of scanning. Most people feel a quicker click-in within a week. Now here S where most people mess up. They try to fix attention with new apps. Tools are fine, but the lever is entry friction, not software features. Make the wrong thing a little harder and the right thing a little easier. Before each block, preload your workspace. The exact file open, the checklist visible, the first action highlighted. Hide unrelated tabs. If you can't close them for work reasons, park them in a separate browser profile so they're out of sight. You want 0 decisions between sit down and first keystroke. Let's stress test with interruptions. Assume you'll get hit. When you do, label it external or internal. External, coworker ping, doorbell, fire drill. Internal, thought loop, craving, random urge to check. For external, pause the timer, handle the thing, then drop the 60-second reset and restart. For internal, write the thought on a capture card, do one slow breath, and continue without pausing. 2 rules keep you honest. Never switch inside the last 5 minutes of a work interval, and never open a feed within 1 minute of a break starting. Those little guardrails protect alpha recovery and keep the end of the block clean, which is when most bailouts happen. Quick win for today, run 2 experiments. First, do a 25-5 with the pre-block ritual and the capture card. After the 5-minute break, rate perceived effort and block entry time. Second, repeat the cycle, but add 1 extra move. Put your phone in another room during the on interval. Watch how your brain relaxes when variable ratio doors aren't within arm's reach. Track your alpha recovery proxy by noting how long it takes to feel locked in after you start. Most see that drop from 7-10 minutes to 2-3 minutes within a week. Common mistakes to avoid: turning breaks into snack and scroll, stacking multiple timers for motivation, and chasing a perfect cadence. Your chronotype and task type matter. Analytical work often fits 50-10. Creative drafting sometimes likes 25-5 with a longer mid-cycle walk. Adjust by feel, not ego. If you're white-knuckling the last 5 minutes every time, your load is off. Shorten the interval or shrink the task unit. Here's the shortcut nobody teaches. Pre-commit to your next block at the end of the current one. With 2 minutes left, jot the first step for the next session and leave the file open to that exact spot. That micro-handshake with your future self halves the friction tomorrow. Pair it with a scheduled reset at the 70% mark in longer sessions. That's the cliff where most people drift. Drop the reset there, and you get a second wind without grabbing novelty. If you remember nothing else from this phase, remember this: predictable cycles beat heroic sprints. Engineer your attention so decisions are rare, entries are easy, and recovery is built in. Do that for 7 days and your DLPFC will stop firefighting, your motivation will feel steadier, and deep work will start to feel like default, not a fight. Phase 3, load competence-based deep work. With rhythm and friction in place, it's time to build horsepower, competence. The thing most people miss is that motivation stabilizes when your brain expects progress, not praise. Competence raises tonic dopamine, which quiets cravings for cheap novelty and supports synaptic plasticity so learning sticks. We're going to design blocks that your prefrontal cortex can steer without drama and your memory can consolidate at night. Start with a skill ladder. Not the big goal, one clear next unit that fits inside a single block. If the project is a research report, today's unit might be outline the 3-section spine or draft the intro paragraph and 1 citation. If you're coding, it's write a passing test and stub the function. For design, produce 3 ugly thumbnails with 1 constraint. The test for a good unit: you can describe it in 1 sentence and you'll know for sure if it's done. Now preload cues so entry is automatic. Before the block starts, open only the file you need, place a micro checklist at the top, 3 to 5 steps, and set the visible timer. Park reference tabs in a separate profile so they're 1 click away but out of sight. Create micro stakes. Send a 30-minute calendar hold to a collaborator or place a sticky note that says ship draft by 11:40. Stakes don't have to be loud, they just have to be visible. Here's the pre-work variant of the 60-second reset to prime the PFC. 1 slow nasal inhale, longer exhale with your tongue on the palate. Gentle palm press for 10 seconds to nudge the Baroreflex. Orient your eyes to your exact work target, the document title, the line you'll edit, the function name. Say a micro-intention, I choose to finish X because it moves Y start. This tiny stack flips your system from scanning to steering. Okay, so the tricky part is the first ugly rep. Perfection is an avoidance strategy disguised as standards. Your rule: produce a visible, imperfect first unit within 3 minutes. Type a placeholder headline. Sketch the boxy wireframe. Write the failing test. Once there's a mark on the page, your threat detectors relax and the DLPFC can allocate bandwidth to sequencing rather than self-judgment. If you remember nothing else, remember this: ugly beats invisible. Let me show you exactly how to run a competence loop inside the block. Minute 0, pre-work reset and timer. Minute 1 to 3, first ugly rep. Minute 3 to 10, expand the rep toward a crude version of the unit. At 10 minutes, do a micro scan, 1 breath, 1 check. Am I still on the unit? If not, note the drift on a capture card and return. Minute 10 to 20, complete a good enough pass. Last 2 minutes, leave breadcrumbs for the next block, write the next first step at the top of the file and bold it. That breadcrumb halves tomorrow's entry friction. The reason this works is biology. Clear units and fast first reps create repeatable successes, which stabilize dopamine tone. Stable tone reduces the pull of variable ratio novelty, so your attention system doesn't keep fishing for jackpots. Meanwhile, repeated, focused passes on the same circuit drive LTP, stronger synapses for that skill, so recall speeds up over 6 to 8 weeks. And because you delayed caffeine early and cut it off 8-10 hours before bed, slow wave sleep can do the consolidation work. Common mistakes to avoid: binary goals like finish chapter that hide 5 subskills, loading the block with research rabbit holes, and swapping tools mid-block because something feels clunky. Tools can wait. If you hit ambiguity, shrink the unit. Outline 3 bullets, not write the section. If doubt spikes, drop a 30-second mini reset, 1 breath, short palm press, quick orient, and continue. Don't restart the whole ritual, keep momentum. Quick win you can try today: run one 25-minute competence block with this recipe. Pick a unit small enough to ship. Preload cues. Do the pre-work reset. Force the first ugly rep by minute 3. Write breadcrumbs in the last 2 minutes. After, score the block on 2 metrics. Did you ship the unit, and did entry feel easier than last week? If either is a no, the unit was too big or the cues weren't ready. The game changer nobody talks about is the competence ledger. At the end of the day, spend 60 seconds logging 3 lines: the unit you shipped, the micro skill it exercised, and 1 sentence on what felt easier. This isn't journaling, it's evidence. Your brain needs receipts to update identity. Over days, that ledger reduces self-doubt at block start because you've taught your system, we finish. What if you're mid-project and everything feels messy? That's normal at the midpoint dip. Place a reset at the 70% mark of your long session. When the cliff appears, hit the triad: breath, press, orient, then switch to a smaller subunit for the last stretch. You'll salvage the second wind without grabbing novelty. Micro story: a creator I coach kept stalling on video edits. We shrank the unit to assemble A-roll for 3 scenes, preloaded the timeline, and used the pre-work reset. The first week, they hit 3 ugly assemblies per block. By week 3, entry dropped from 8 minutes to under 3, and publish cadence doubled. No extra hours, just cleaner cycles and faster first reps. Here's the practical checkpoint: if your blocks aren't shipping visible units, they're too big, too vague, or too interrupted. Fix the unit, fix the cues, protect the first 3 minutes. Do that consistently and you'll feel the flywheel: steadier motivation, faster recall, fewer bailout scrolls. Once competence is rolling, we'll lock it in so it doesn't slip when life gets noisy. Phase 4: sustain, identity, and autonomy locks. You've built rhythm and competence. Now we make it stick by aligning behavior with identity and protecting prefrontal bandwidth. This phase is about running fewer decisions, building agency into every recurring task, and keeping your DLPFC steering instead of arbitrating. Think of it as installing guardrails so you don't slide back when life gets noisy. Start with a simple script that flips the threat state. I choose to because. Use it before any recurring task that tends to feel like a drag. I choose to draft this outline because it moves the launch. I choose to clear these invoices because it funds next month's buffer. Autonomy lowers allostatic load. When the task is self-chosen and tied to a reason, your nervous system stops flagging it as a threat and your executive control smooths out. Say it out loud. It feels cheesy for 2 days, and then it becomes a lever. Next, we add evidence. Identity forms from repeated proof, not declarations, so we'll run a weekly narrative review, 3 lines, no essays. Line 1, autonomy you exercised this week. Chose the 25-5 cadence instead of doom scrolling at lunch. Line 2, competence you earned. Shipped 3 ugly reps that turned into a clean section. Line 3, safety you protected. Delayed caffeine and placed 2 resets at the 70% mark. That's it. You're telling your brain what to remember. Over a month, those lines become a quiet reputation with yourself. Dependable, calm, gets it done. Now we protect DLPFC bandwidth by reducing decisions. Calendar templates beat heroic willpower. Create 2-day modes, build and maintain. Build days get 2 deep work blocks, 1 admin window, 1 communication digest. Maintain days get 1 short focus block and more collaboration. Color code them and pre-fill next week on Friday. Then cap meetings. Set a weekly limit and batch them inside maintain days, ideally after your first block so your best cognitive fuel goes to your work, not other people's agendas. Fewer context shifts means fewer arbitration costs in BA10. Let's talk rewards. The mistake is throwing dopamine confetti after every block, snacks, scrolls, micro-purchases. That teaches your brain that cheap novelty follows effort, which downregulates tonic motivation. Instead, shift to competence rewards. Mark shipped units in a visible ledger, share a tiny demo with a peer, or move a project card to done with a quick note on what you learned. These are boring on purpose. They reinforce identity without spiking your reward system. Here's a 6-minute Friday identity lock ritual that glues this together. Minute 1, scan your calendar and rename the week you just lived with 1 phrase, calm build, messy but moving, whatever fits. Minute 2, write your 3-line evidence, autonomy, competence, safety. Minute 3, tally shipped units in your competence ledger. Minute 4, schedule next week's wake time anchors and place 2 60-second resets at your usual drop-off points, often around 70% into your longest sessions. Minute 5, template next week, drop build and maintain days into the calendar with rough block times. Minute 6, write 2, I choose to because, scripts for the heaviest recurring tasks on Monday and Tuesday. Close the laptop. Now let's remove autonomy leaks hiding in language and design. Replace I'll try to with I plan to and a time. Replace I should with either I choose to because or I won't because it's not a priority right now. Hard maybe is a soft no that taxes the DLPFC. Clean edges protect bandwidth. Environmental identity cues help too. Keep a visible timer on your desk, a reset card within reach, and your competence ledger open at day end. Wear noise-canceling headphones only during focus blocks so your body links them to deep work mode. Small, consistent cues build a context that whispers, "This is who we are here." Handle relapse with design, not drama. Expect a noisy week to blow up your cadence. When it happens, run a 3-step reset. Same wake time tomorrow, 2 minutes of morning light, and 1 placed 60-second reset before your first block. Then cut your block length by 1/3 and shrink the unit so you can ship today. Identity survives on action, not intensity. Quick micro story. A founder I coach was a pro at sprinting and crashing. We added the Friday lock, switched to build and maintain days, and killed I should language. In 3 weeks, they stopped stuffing calls into build mornings, started pre-booking resets at the 70% cliff, and used I choose to because before investor decks. Output ticked up, but more importantly, volatility dropped. Their team reported fewer last-minute pivots because decisions weren't being made from a threat state. Common mistakes to avoid: turning identity work into affirmations with no receipts, scheduling without leaving recovery between blocks, and over-awarding with novelty. Another one, adding more tools. You don't need a new app to say, I choose to because, and run a 6-minute Friday ritual. Keep it light, repeatable, and visible. What should this feel like after 4 to 6 weeks? Fewer internal negotiations at block start, smoother reentry after interruptions, and a steadier baseline across your day. You'll notice that hard tasks feel heavy, but clean, not heavy and fuzzy. That's your DLPFC running steering, not scanning. Lock this phase by writing 1 sentence you'll see Monday morning. I choose steady depth because it builds the 2030 brain I want. The 60-second
keep
reset,
giving yourself
deep
evidence.
mechanics and variations. You've used the reset. Now let's wire in why it works and how to deploy it in the 3 moments that matter: before work, mid-block, and after stress. The goal isn't Zen vibes. It's fast state control, downshift arousal, restore executive control, and re-enter focus without paying the doomscroll tax. First, the why in plain English. The slow nasal inhale with your tongue resting on the roof of your mouth nudges the vagus nerve, which shifts you toward parasympathetic mode. Less fight or flight, more steer and think. The gentle palm press raises pressure at the baroreceptors in your arteries. That triggers the Baroreflex, which lowers heart rate and nudges cortisol down. Finally, the orienting sweep, eyes landing on 3 far points and 3 near points, rebuilds your visual spatial map, which screens quietly scramble. That interrupts the flicker-driven hypervigilance that keeps your attention jumpy. 3 pieces, 1 message to your brain, not a threat, resume executive mode. Now the default stack you already know: 4 rounds of 7-count nasal breaths, tongue on the palate, a smooth 10-second palm press, then the orienting sweep. Do it at a calm pace, not a performance. Mouth breathing, rushing, or skipping orienting are the big mistakes. If you're short on time, the sequence still works with 2 breath rounds and a 5-second press, but don't cut the orienting. That's the piece that clears the scroll residue. Let me show you exactly how to adapt it for 3 use cases. Pre-work primer, 45-60 seconds. This primes BA10 and the DLPFC to steer instead of scan. 1 slow nasal inhale, slightly longer exhale. Gentle palm press for 10 seconds, release. Orient directly to your task target, name the file or the first line you'll touch. Then speak a micro-stake. I choose to do X for 25 minutes because Y, start the visible timer. You've told your system what to do, why it matters, and when it ends. Most people feel a quicker click-in, and fewer false starts within a week. Mid-block recovery, 60 seconds. Use this at 2 points, right after an interruption over a minute or at the 70% cliff of a longer session. Here, extend the exhale slightly more to deepen the downshift. Do the 10-second palm press. For orienting, sweep far near, far near, far near, then land eyes on a single anchor in your work: cursor line, function name, section header. Restart the timer for the remaining minutes. This restores tonic focus faster than white-knuckling the final stretch, and prevents the eye-earned a scroll bailout. Post-stressor clear, 60-90 seconds. After a sharp spike, heated email, bad news, urgent ping, you're in hyperarousal. That's when most people grab novelty. Don't. Sit back in your chair, do 4 breath rounds, keep the tongue on the palate, and press palms twice for 10 seconds with a 5-second pause between. On orienting, add peripheral awareness. Soften your gaze and notice the edges of your visual field for a few seconds before doing far near points. Then choose. Either return to the task with a 1-line reentry, or intentionally switch to a low cognitive load admin window for 10 minutes. You're clearing the charge before you decide. A few pro tips and fixes. If counting 7s makes you tense, switch to silent pacing. Inhale to in 2, 3, 4, exhale to out 2, 3, 4, 5. If your nose is stuffy, still keep the mouth closed lightly and reduce intensity. The point is calm, not maximal airflow. If you're in public, you can run a covert version: 2 slow breaths with tongue on palate, a subtle forearm press against your thigh, and a micro-orient. Look at the room corners without moving your head. It's not perfect, but it's enough to flip the switch. Placement matters more than perfection. Schedule 4 resets at natural friction points. Pre-first block, after the first interruption, at the 70% mark of your longest session, and post-lunch. Put a tiny next to those moments in your calendar or timer notes. When the flag appears, you don't decide, you run the reset. That removes arbitration from BA10 and turns regulation into a reflex. Here's the shortcut nobody teaches. Pair the reset with a single action cue. Pre-work, cue is start the timer. Mid-block, cue is return cursor to the exact line and type 3 words. Post-stressor, cue is write 1 sentence next step. Action immediately after reset locks the new state, waiting invites drift. Common mistakes to avoid. Don't stack resets back-to-back hoping for a bigger effect. You'll just get lightheaded and start practicing avoidance. Don't turn the reset into a reward for finishing. Use it to start and to recover. And don't chase extreme calm. You want alert calm, not nap calm. If you feel drowsy, shorten the exhale and reduce the press. Quick micro story. A creator kept bailing at minute 38 of a 50-minute edit. We dropped a scheduled reset at minute 35, 2 slow breaths, 10-second press, orient to the exact clip, and added the type 3 words cue. Week 1, completion rate jumped from 40% to 80%. Same hours, better placement. If you remember nothing else, remember this. Tiny, well-placed state shifts beat heroic self-control. Use the triad to downshift arousal, then move 1 inch forward immediately. Next, we'll close the dopamine leaks that undo this work. Dopamine drain resets, ending the leak. You've got state control now. Time to plug the motivation leak so you don't fight the same battle every hour. The big idea: protect tonic dopamine by taming phasic spikes. Scrolling feeds run on variable ratio rewards the slot machine schedule. That overstimulates the ventral striatum and delays alpha recovery after you stop. Translation: you feel itchy focus and can't land on your task. We're going to cut accidental spikes, compress deliberate hits, and speed the return to steady drive. Start with environment, not willpower. Create a 2-tap barrier for every dopamine app. Put them inside a folder, inside another folder, and move that to the second screen. That tiny pause buys your DLPFC a beat to catch the impulse. Then grayscale one high-risk app today. Color is a cue for reward. When you drain it, the urge drops. Finally, build notification funnels. Turn off real-time pings for anything non-critical and bundle them into 2 digest windows, late morning and late afternoon. You've just converted 1,000 micro-interruptions into 2 planned checks. Now the 24-hour recalibration window, your rescue protocol after heavy novelty. It's not a detox, it's a reset of signal to noise. For one day, you'll reduce phasic spikes to restore tonic tone. Here's the recipe. No algorithmic feeds before your first deep work block. All dopamine apps live behind the 2-tap barrier. Both digests capped to 10 minutes with a visible timer. And every exit from a feed is followed by the 60-second reset, 2 slow nasal breaths, 10-second palm press, orient farnier farnier farnier. That sweep clears the flicker residue and speeds alpha recovery so you can re-enter work without the fog. Let me show you exactly how this looks hour by hour. Morning. Wake on anchor, 2 minutes of outdoor light, caffeine delayed 90-120 minutes so adenosine clears and you don't chase crashes with novelty later. Pre-first block, run the 45-60-second pre-work reset. Phone goes in another room for the first interval. Mid-morning, first digest window. Set a 10-minute timer, open your notification funnel, clear messages in priority order, and close. Immediately run the reset and land eyes on your next task anchor. Afternoon, repeat that pattern once. If you feel the itch climbing, add a 5-minute walk with eyes off screens before you re-enter. Here's the shortcut nobody teaches. Downgrade dopamine at the source. Inside each high-risk app, turn off autoplay, disable infinite scroll if possible, and switch to following over for you. You're cutting the casino mechanics that drive unpredictable jackpots. Pair that with intent cards, a sticky note on your desk with 3 allowed reasons you open any app. Example, post, reply to DMs, check client feedback. If the reason isn't on the card, you don't open it. It sounds rigid. It feels freeing. Quick win you can try today. Pick one app and do a grayscale plus intent combo. Move it behind the 2-tap barrier, set it to grayscale, and write your 3 use cases. Run one 10-minute digest and close with the reset. Notice the aftertaste. Most people report a shorter craving tail and easier task reentry within 72 hours as baseline calm returns. Let's talk cravings. They'll spike at predictable times, right after a hard decision during the midpoint dip of a block and when you're bored between tasks. Label the spike, phasic pull, and run a 30-second mini reset, 1 slow breath, 5-second press, quick orient. Then do 1 tiny action on your task, type 3 words, move a card, write a single line. Action kills the loop. If the pull persists, swap to a low-load admin window for 10 minutes, then re-enter with the full 60-second reset. Common mistakes to avoid: going cold turkey without redesigning friction, turning digests into reward binges, and using I earned it to justify algorithmic grazing between blocks. Also, stacking focus apps without removing the slot machines you actually use. One hard rule helps: never open a feed inside the last 5 minutes of a break. Protect your alpha recovery. Let boredom do its job, reset motivation. Metrics make this real. Track 3 for a week. Accidental opens per day, time to lock in at the start of a block, and craving intensity after digests on a 1-5 scale. Your aim isn't zero novelty, it's faster stabilization. Expect accidental opens to have in 3 days, time to lock in to drop by a few minutes, and craving intensity to soften as the ventral striatum stops waiting for jackpots. Micro story: a client with constant check loops added a 2-tap barrier, grayscale on one app, and 2 10-minute digests with resets. Day 2, still twitchy. Day 4, accidental opens fell from 18 to 7. Their first block click-in time dropped from 9 minutes to 3. Same phone, different friction. If you remember nothing else, remember this. Protect tonic dopamine and alpha recovery, and motivation feels steady instead of spiky. Friction first, digest with edges, reset on exit. Now we'll stack the circadian timing that supercharges all of this. Circadian power-ups: sleep, light, and caffeine timing. This is where you get free brain upgrades from timing, not effort. 3 levers: wake time anchor beats bedtime, morning light sets the clock, and caffeine timing respects adenosine and sleep consolidation. Nail these and you'll feel cleaner energy, better recall, and easier block entry without adding more tools. Start with the anchor, wake time over bedtime. Most people try to force earlier sleep. That backfires. Your circadian system wants consistent morning signals. Lock your wake time inside a 30-minute window, 7 days straight. When you wake at a steady time, your suprachiasmatic nucleus gets a reliable timestamp. That raises circadian amplitude, sharper daytime alertness, calmer nights, and restores a healthier diurnal cortisol slope. Why it matters? A stable slope supports working memory, so you can hold complex steps without feeling fried. Now light bookends. Morning light is non-negotiable. Within 30 minutes of waking, get outside for 2 to 5 minutes. Clouds don't matter. Outdoor light is still orders of magnitude brighter than indoor. Don't wear sunglasses for that brief window. This upshifts your clock, cues an earlier cortisol peak, and tells peripheral clocks, liver, gut, muscle to sync. In the evening, dim early. 2 hours before bed, lower overheads, switch lamps warmer, and push screens back or use night modes. You're not chasing perfect blue light purity. You're giving your brain a clear dusk signal so melatonin can rise on time. Caffeine next. Caffeine blocks adenosine receptors. If you drink it too early, before the overnight adenosine has cleared, you're just deferring sleep pressure. That creates the notorious afternoon dip and the urge to dose again, which drifts caffeine toward the wrong side of the day. The fix: delay your first caffeine 90 to 120 minutes after waking. That window lets adenosine naturally flush, so the first cup lifts you without a backlog that crashes later. Equally important, set a cutoff 8 to 10 hours before bed. Caffeine's half-life runs roughly 4 to 6 hours, and residue past your cutoff bleeds into slow-wave sleep, the phase that supports memory consolidation and myelination. Protect that window and your phase 3 learning actually sticks. Here's a simple daily run-through. Wake on your anchor, step outside for 2 minutes of light, move your body lightly while water heats or breakfast preps. No doom headlines, no inbox, hold caffeine until the 90-minute mark. When you drink, pair it with protein and hydration to smooth the rise. Midday, if you hit a slump, check your anchors first, sleep, debt, light, and meal timing before you reach for another cup. If you need a second dose, keep it small and land it well before your cutoff. A quick mistake sweep. Don't chase blue light hacks while ignoring timing. Light intensity and timing beat screen filters. Don't use naps to erase social jet lag. If you nap, cap it under 20 minutes before mid-afternoon. Don't sleep in to catch up on weekends. That mini-Jetlag flattens your cortisol slope and dings working memory on Monday. Hold your wake anchor and add a short early afternoon nap if you truly need recovery. What about exercise and meals? They're secondary zeitgebers, time givers. Anchor a consistent first meal within a few hours of wake and avoid very late, heavy dinners. Front-loading movement or taking a brisk morning walk compounds the light cue. In the evening, keep intense workouts away from your last 2 hours if they hype you up. You're teaching your system a rhythm, bright and active earlier, dim and calmer later. Let's turn this into a 7-day challenge you can finish. Day 1, set your wake window and place a sticky note on your phone. Outdoors 2 minutes. Day 2, add the caffeine delay. Day 3, pick a cutoff and shift your last cup earlier by 30 minutes. Day 4, dim lights an hour earlier than usual. Day 5, add a 5-minute morning walk with eyes off screens. Day 6, audit late screens, move entertainment earlier, use night modes after dusk. Day 7, review energy across the week. Rate morning alertness, 2 p.m. stability, and time to lock in at the first block. Here's the shortcut nobody teaches. If you have a rough night, do make up with extra sleep in. Keep the wake anchor, get morning light, and use a 10-20 minute nap early afternoon if necessary. That preserves the rhythm so tomorrow's night recovers. If you travel or hit a chaotic week, rebuild with 3 moves. Same wake time tomorrow, outdoor light within 30 minutes, and a hard caffeine cutoff. Rhythm returns faster than you expect when the anchors are clear. Micro story: a designer I coach swore evenings were their only focus window. We didn't argue. We anchored wake time, added morning light, delayed caffeine 90 minutes, and dimmed after 9 p.m. 2 weeks later, their first deep work block shifted to late morning with less fight. Same skills, better timing signals. If you remember nothing else here, remember this: time your inputs to match your biology. Wake anchors set the stage, light sets the clock, caffeine respects adenosine and sleep. Get those right and your brain stops feeling older than it is. Micro-Jetlag and recovery, beating the weekly lag. Let's fix the weekly wobble that quietly taxes your brain. Micro-Jetlag, no flights required. It's the Friday stay up, the Saturday sleep in, the Sunday scramble. Variable schedules desync your central clock and the peripheral clocks in your liver, gut, and muscles. The cost shows up as a flattened cortisol slope on Monday and dented working memory, harder to hold steps in mind, easier to drift. You don't feel lazy, you're mistimed. Here's the rule that saves you. Protect a 30-minute wake time window, not a perfect bedtime. Your wake anchor is the steering wheel. Hold it 7 days and your circadian amplitude sharpens, cleaner morning alert, steadier midday, calmer evenings. Pair it with 2 bookends, 2 to 5 minutes of outdoor light within 30 minutes of wake, and gentler light after dusk. That's a daily, we're safe and on schedule message your prefrontal cortex trusts. Now the 30-33 quick win you can start today. 30-minute wake window. 30 minutes of daylight before noon, broken up if needed. 3 movement bursts across the day, 2 minutes each is fine. Think of these as rhythm pings for your clocks. Even on cloudy days, outdoor light beats indoor by orders of magnitude. Movement pulses nudge temperature and glucose rhythms to sync with your central clock. Caffeine still matters here. Delay your first dose 90-120 minutes after wake so overnight adenosine clears, and set a cutoff 8-10 hours before bed to protect slow-wave consolidation. That combo shortens the Monday syrup and helps your phase 3 learning stick. If weekends are social, shift your last cup earlier by 30 minutes and keep your wake anchor anyway. You'll be a bit sleepy Sunday night, but you won't pay with a full week hangover. Meals are quiet time givers. Aim your first meal within a few hours of wake. Keep very late, heavy dinners rare, especially on weekends. If you know a late dinner is coming, make the day friendlier. Longer daylight, an early walk, and a smaller afternoon caffeine. You're cushioning the system so the slope recovers faster. Let me give you a 48-hour recovery protocol for when you do drift. Morning 1, hold your wake anchor, get outdoor light within 30 minutes and skip naps longer than 20 minutes. Keep meals lighter and earlier. Place a 60-second reset right before your first block to re-engage executive control. Afternoon, walk 10 minutes outside if you can. If not, orient at a window and do 2 slow breaths. Evening, dim sooner than usual, screens pushed back, and caffeine long cut off. Morning 2, repeat the wake anchor and morning light. By midday, your slope starts to feel normal again. Common mistakes to avoid: catching up by sleeping in 2 hours, long late naps, and cramming errands into choppy micro-commitments that jack your stress state. Another big one, filling Sunday night with high-stakes planning. Move your weekly review to Friday afternoon so Sunday can be light, with 1 short, set-the-table glance. Now guard your block quality midweek with 3 micro-rules. First, never open feeds inside the first hour after wake. You're still setting your slope. Second, when you feel the 2 p.m. wobble, drop a 60-second reset before you reach for novelty. Third, schedule a reset at the 70% mark of your longest session. That cliff is where most people bail and train their brain to expect cheap rewards. Here's a simple weekend design that keeps you human. Hold the wake anchor. Keep morning light. Front-load movement, walk with a friend, groceries on foot, anything outside. Batch admin in one 45-60-minute window so micro-commitments don't leak across the day. If you want late social time, plan a 10-20-minute early afternoon nap, not late afternoon. Monday you'll thank you. Quick micro story. A developer I coach used to lose Monday and half of Tuesday. We tightened a 30-minute wake window, added 30 minutes of daylight before noon in 3 chunks, and ran the 48-hour recovery after a late Saturday. Within 2 weeks, their Monday first block, click-in time dropped from 9 minutes to under 4, and the midweek 2 p.m. crash mostly vanished. If you remember nothing else, remember this. Keep your wake steady, ping your clocks with light and small movement, and use fast resets to smooth re-entry. Micro-Jetlag shrinks, energy holds, and your brain feels younger by Wednesday. Session architecture, the 4-beat loop. This is the skeleton you'll run inside any focus block. Intention, obstacle, stakes, resolution. 4 beats, 1 loop. It's fast, it's simple, and it trains your brain to finish without theatrics. Beat 1 is intention. Take 15 seconds to say why now and make it a choice. Out loud, I choose to finish the rough outline because it unlocks tomorrow's draft. Then name the unit, not the project. 3 bullets for section 2. Your DLPFC needs a clear target and a reason. Put the reason first so the task isn't flagged as a threat. Beat 2 is obstacle. Don't pretend you're frictionless. Name the thing most likely to derail you, ping, perfectionism, rabbit holes, then neutralize it with the 60-second reset. 1 slow nasal inhale, longer exhale, tongue on the palate. 10-second palm press to hit the Baroreflex. Orient eyes far near, far near, far near. If notifications are the snag, park the phone in another room or toggle focus mode. If perfection is the snag, write first ugly rep by minute 3 at the top of the page. You're telling BA 10 what not to arbitrate. Beat 3 is stakes. Set a micro stake that makes the end visible. Start a countdown timer where you can see it. Add 1 consequence or benefit tied to time, not output. If I finish by 11:40, I post the draft in the channel. If I bail early, I owe a 2-sentence summary of why. Light pressure, clear boundary. Stakes shouldn't threaten identity, they should nudge momentum. Think bumpers in a bowling lane, not a cliff. Beat 4 is resolution. Ship the first ugly rep in 3 minutes, then leave breadcrumbs for future you. Resolution has 2 halves, start and finish. Start is 3 minutes to visible progress. Finish is 2 minutes to mark done and set the next first step in bold at the top of the file. Next, add examples A, B, C. That breadcrumb is your tomorrow click-in accelerator. Let me show you exactly how the loop sounds in real time. Intention, I choose to draft the 3 bullets because they unlock the client narrative. Obstacle, likely derailers are tab surfing and polishing. Reset now. You do the triad, breath, press, orient, stakes, timer 25 minutes. If done, I post. If not, I write 2 lines on what blocked me. Resolution start, first ugly rep by 10:05. You type crude bullets. Resolution finish. At minute 23, you bold the next first step and move the card to ready to polish. Timer hits 0. Loop closed. Now here S where most people mess up. They skip stakes because it feels awkward, then wander in the last 5 minutes. Or they overload intentions with 5 goals and no unit. Or they treat obstacle as a pep talk instead of a reset plus environment change. Keep each beat under 30 seconds except the work itself. The loop is scaffolding, not a meeting. A few pro upgrades. Add a visible cue card on your desk. IOSR under each 1 line. Intention, I choose to because obstacle. Reset plus friction. Stakes, timer plus post summary. Resolution, ugly rep plus breadcrumb. Glance at it before you hit start. Preload the timer so the only action after the reset is click and type. And adopt 2 hard rules that protect the loop. Never open feeds inside the last 5 minutes of a block and never change scope mid-block. Scope changes belong at the next intention. Recovery is built into the loop. If you get interrupted for more than a minute, pause the timer, label it external, and run a 60-second mid-block reset before you resume. If the derail is internal, urge to check, self-doubt, capture the thought on a card, and continue without pausing. The capture externalizes noise so DLPFC can steer. If you still feel sticky, shrink the unit on the fly. 1 bullet now, not perfect section. Use the 70% rescue. In longer sessions, pre-schedule a reset at roughly 70% of expected time. That's the energy cliff. Drop the triad there, breath, press, orient, Then read your micro-stake aloud once and continue. You'll feel the second wind without grabbing novelty. Clients who added the 70% rescue increased completion rates dramatically because they finished strong instead of bailing. A quick template you can steal today. Print or write, beat 1 intention, I choose to unit because reason. Beat 2 obstacle, likely snag X, reset now. Friction, phone out, focus on. Beat 3 stakes, timer min, if finish, post / done, if bail, 2-line Y. Beat 4 resolution, first ugly rep by time. Breadcrumb, next step, keep it at your desk. Run 2 loops today, 1:25:5, 1:50:10. Notice entry time and finish clarity. If you remember nothing else, remember this: loops beat sprints. Intention points you, obstacle clears the path, stakes keep you honest, resolution locks progress. Stack that loop with your resets and rhythms, and deep work stops being a mood
automation
and
that
starts being a system.
focus.
Environment beats willpower long-term, so let's put your focus on rails. Think templates, modes, and smart blocks that remove decisions before they happen. We'll build a 2-mode day, automate your calendar, fence the web, and batch the noise so your DLPFC steers instead of arbitrates. Start with day modes, build and maintain. Build days are for creation, maintain days are for admin and collaboration. On Friday, pre-fill next week. For each build day, drop 2 deep work blocks, 90 or 50 minutes depending on your current bandwidth, 1 admin window, and 1 communication digest. Maintain days get 1 short focus block and your meetings, ideally after your first block so prime cognition goes to your work first. Color code them so your brain recognizes the lane at a glance. Now make templates do the heavy lifting. Create calendar templates for each mode. For build, deep block A, break, deep block B, admin, digest. For maintain, focus light, meetings batch 1, admin, meetings batch 2, digest. Save them as reusable sets. On Friday, 1 click drops the shape for each day. You're eliminating layout decisions that quietly tax BA10. Next, focus modes on your devices. Build a focus profile called Deep that silences everything except true emergencies, favorites and calendar alerts for your next block end. Add an auto-on rule so Deep triggers when a calendar event with Deep in the title starts and auto-off at the end. Create a second profile called Maintain that allows team tools and calendar, but still blocks social apps. Tie each profile to your day modes so switching modes is automatic, not a debate. Website fences are simple and powerful. Use a blocker that supports schedules, freedom, cold turkey, leech block, whatever you'll actually keep. Whitelist only the domains needed for the current project during Deep. Everything else is closed for that window. For Maintain, switch to a blacklist so you can research without falling into algorithmic holes. Add 1 mercy lane, a 5-minute override that requires typing a reason, then locks again. That delay gives your executive control time to catch the impulse. Batch your noise with notification funnels. Turn off real-time pings for non-critical apps and redirect messages into 2 digest windows that already live in your templates, late morning and late afternoon. In Slack or email, create filters or saved searches. At U+ high priority, today deadlines, everything else. Clear top-down. Cap each digest to 10 minutes with a visible timer. Close by running a 30-60-second reset. Breath, palm press, orient, then land eyes on your next work anchor. You're compressing chaos into predictable edges and protecting alpha recovery. Task batching is next. Group like with like, outreach together, design reviews together, invoices together. Put each batch into a recurring weekly slot that matches your energy curve. High cognitive load items earn build mornings, transactional batches ride maintain afternoons. Cap meetings with a weekly ceiling, say 8 hours max, and batch them inside maintain days. Protect at least 2 build mornings per week from any meetings. That's executive control insurance. Energy-matched scheduling matters. Notice when your cognition peaks, often 60-180 minutes after waking, especially with light bookends and caffeine timing dialed. Put your hardest unit there. Place collaboration or admin after your first block, not before. If your job demands morning meetings, steal a protected hour before them as a mini build window and push your second deep block to early afternoon, preceded by a 60-second reset and a short walk. Let me show you exactly how to wire this in one setup session. Step 1, create the 2 calendar templates and color code them. Step 2, build deep and maintain focus profiles and tie them to event keywords. Step 3. Install a site blocker, make a deep whitelist and a maintain blacklist, and schedule them to match your templates. Step 4. Set 2 notification digests and filters. Step 5. List your recurring batches and drop them into recurring slots. 15 minutes now saves hundreds of micro-decisions later. Common mistakes to avoid. Infinite tools with no schedule, letting blockers default to always on, and then overriding all day, and putting meetings across every morning so you never hit first peak cognition. Another one, forgetting recovery time. Leave 5-minute buffers before and after deep blocks for a reset and a quick orient. Don't stack back-to-back without breath. Quick win, build 2-mode templates today and wire deep focus to the deep keyword. Tomorrow morning, your phone flips into deep the moment your block starts, websites fence themselves, and messages wait in the digest. You didn't will this into being, you designed it. That's how you protect focus when motivation wobbles. Proof stacks, micro-stories, and case wins. Let me give you receipts so your brain believes this isn't theory. Client A is a B2B creator who kept bailing near the end of long edits. We didn't add hours. We added one move. A scheduled 60-second reset at roughly 70% of every deep block, 2 slow nasal breaths, a 10-second palm press, orient eyes far near, and a single action cue, type 3 words. In 2 weeks, completion rate on 50-minute blocks jumped and video retention followed. Their audience watch-through moved from 32% to 68% across similar topics. Same scripts, same editor. The difference was finishing strong instead of grabbing novelty at the cliff. Client B came in with brain fog, slow starts, mid-afternoon crashes, constant checking. We didn't overhaul their life. We ran the 7-day stabilize play, wake time lock inside 30 minutes, 2 minutes of outdoor light within 30 minutes of wake, caffeine delayed 90-120 minutes, and 4 placed resets at friction points. By week 2, their first block click-in dropped from 9 minutes to under 4, the 2 p.m. crash softened, and they reported thoughts feel narrower and cleaner. That's a healthier diurnal slope, plus faster alpha recovery showing up in real work. Creator C was publishing sporadically and burning out. We installed session architecture, the 4-beat loop, and paired it with build-maintain day modes. 2 deep blocks on build days, digests batched, and a hard no feeds in the last 5 minutes rule. We also added the pre-work reset to prime steering and a breadcrumb at the end of each block. Publish cadence doubled in 6 weeks without extra hours. Their comment section shifted from "Where did you go?" to "You're on fire," while they felt calmer because BA10 wasn't arbitrating 1,000 choices per block. Belief break, longer videos improved after we led with nervous system safety. One client stretched from 8-10 minutes to 18-22 minutes and saw average view duration rise, not fall. Why? Cleaner mid-video energy. They placed a reset at the 70% mark of A-roll capture and used the intention, obstacle, stakes, resolution loop. The second wind replaced the slump, so their delivery stayed crisp and viewers stayed. A quick team story. An engineering lead rolled this system to 5 devs. They locked wake windows, set 2 digest windows, and used the 25-5 cadence for heavy debugging with a 60-second reset after any interruption over a minute. Over 4 weeks, accidental opens per dev dropped from -20/day to -7/day, and time to lock in at the start of blocks fell from 8-10 minutes to 2-4. Same code base, fewer arbitration costs. Don't do what I did the first time, stack tools and skip anchors. Early on, I tried blockers, shiny apps, and a new planner. Nothing stuck until I stabilized wake time, delayed caffeine, and placed the 4 resets. Once safety showed up, friction worked. Once friction worked, competence snowballed. That's the order. The stakes are simple. This isn't hacks. It's nervous system literacy, using circadian anchors, state resets, and attention scaffolds to protect synaptic plasticity and prefrontal bandwidth. When you run it in the wild, you don't just feel better, you produce better under pressure. You've seen the proof. Next, we'll turn this into a 14-day on-ramp you can finish without burning out. Implementation plan, 14-day on-ramp. Let's make this easy to run. 4 chunks, simple moves, visible wins. You're not renovating your life. You're installing anchors, friction, competence, and identity, 1 layer at a time. Days 1-3, stabilize. Lock your wake time inside a 30-minute window, 7 days included. Put a sticky note on your phone. Outdoors 2 min within 30 minutes of waking, step outside for 2 to 5 minutes. No sunglasses for that quick window. Delay caffeine 90-120 minutes so adenosine clears and you don't set up an afternoon crash. Place 2 60-second resets per day at natural friction points, one before your first focus block and one post-lunch. Keep the reset simple. Slow nasal inhale, slightly longer exhale with your tongue on the palate, 10-second gentle palm press, and an orienting sweep. Eyes land on 3 far points and 3 near points. Say one "I choose to because" line before any recurring task that feels heavy. Your job here is safety signals and rhythm. Wake anchor, light bookends, small state shifts. Days 4-6, Rewire. We're building predictable cycles and adding smart friction. Pick a cadence that matches your current bandwidth, 25/5 if you're rebuilding, 50/10 if you feel steady. Run 2 blocks per day with the 90-second pre-block ritual. Orient Farnier, 1 slow nasal inhale and longer exhale, 10-second palm press, then speak your micro-stake and start a visible timer. Shape the environment. Home screen purge so only essentials live on page 1. Move dopamine apps into a folder inside a folder. Switch 1 high-risk app to grayscale and create 2 notification digest windows, late morning and late afternoon, so pings stop bleeding into your blocks. Phone goes out of reach during the work interval. Use a capture card for internal interruptions. 2 rules hold the line. Never switch inside the last 5 minutes of a work interval, and never open a feed within 1 minute of a break starting. You're protecting alpha recovery and training BA10 to steer, not arbitrate. Days 7-10, load. Now we build competence so motivation stabilizes. Each day, run at least one 25-minute competence block. Define a skill ladder unit that fits inside the block. 1 sentence, binary done not done. Preload cues. Open only the target file, park reference tabs in a separate profile, write a 3-step micro-checklist at the top, and set the timer visible. Use the pre-work reset variant to prime steering. Breath, press, orient to the exact line you'll touch. Speak, "I choose to finish X because it moves Y," and start. Force the first ugly rep by minute 3. At minute 10, 1 breath micro-scan. Am I still on the unit? If not, note the drift and return. Last 2 minutes, leave breadcrumbs for tomorrow, bold the next first step at the top of the file. If you feel the 70% cliff in longer sessions, drop the reset there. Breath, press, orient, read your stake, and continue. You're stacking quick wins that drive LTP over weeks and keep novelty cravings quiet. Days 11-14. Sustain. We lock identity and reduce decision load. Add the Friday 6-minute identity lock ritual. Name the week with 1 phrase, write 3 lines of evidence. Autonomy you exercised, competence you earned, safety you protected, tally shipped units. Schedule next week's wake anchors and place 2 resets at usual drop-offs. Drop, build, maintain day templates into your calendar and write 2 "I choose to because" scripts for heavy Monday-Tuesday tasks. Wire 2 device-focused profiles, deep and maintain, and tie them to calendar keywords so they auto-trigger with your blocks. Set your website blocker to whitelist during deep and blacklist during maintain. Create notification funnels with 2 10-minute digests and close each with a 30-60-second reset. Cap meetings inside maintain days and protect at least 2 build mornings. You're removing arbitration costs from BA10 and making focus the default. Metrics keep you honest and motivated. Track 3 simple numbers daily. Block entry time. Minutes from hitting start to feeling locked in. Accidental opens. Number of unplanned dopamine app launches. Shipped units. Count of blocks that produced a visible done unit. Optional but powerful. Rate craving intensity after each digest on a 1-5 scale and jot a 1-line competence ledger entry at day's end. What you shipped, micro skill used, what felt easier. These receipts tell your brain to expect progress. What if a day blows up? Run the 3-step reset tomorrow, hold your wake anchor, get outdoor light within 30 minutes, and place a 60-second reset before your first block. Then shrink the block by 1/3 and pick a smaller unit. Identity survives on action, not intensity. By day 14, you should notice faster click-ins, smoother re-entry after hits, less itchy focus post-scroll, and a steadier baseline across the afternoon. That circadian amplitude, vagal tone, and cleaner DL/PFC bandwidth showing up as real productivity, not just good intentions. Keep the anchors, keep the resets, keep the ledger. The system compounds. What if you nail this? Future pacing to 2030. Fast forward, your day holds a flat retention curve, energy steady from morning to late afternoon. You enter blocks in 2 to 3 minutes, not 10. Interruptions don't spiral you. A 60-second reset drops the charge and you're back steering. That steady click-in lets you stack skill units day after day, which turns into real horsepower by 2030, deeper expertise, faster recall under pressure, and the calm to handle bigger scope. Work feels different. Tonic motivation replaces jackpot hunting. You're not bargaining with feeds every break because your system trusts the rhythm. Wake anchors, light bookends, caffeine that respects adenosine, predictable cycles with recovery built in. BA10 isn't arbitrating 1,000 choices. It's pointing, sequencing, finishing. That shift shows up in outcomes: compounding skills, higher earning power from reliable deep work, and cleaner sleep that actually consolidates what you built. Anxiety softens because you're running a nervous system-first plan. Social halo kicks in, you look like the dependable, calm operator people count on. You still use novelty, but you use it on purpose. Travel-proof micro-jet-lag protocols, strategic breaks, digest windows with edges. You don't regress when life gets noisy because identity and automation hold the rails. What's next? Strategic novelty without leaks, planned sprints for growth, not random spikes. Larger projects with the same 4-beat loop. Maybe mentoring others so your context cues spread. But the core stays: anchors, resets, rhythms, units, identity locks. Your move now: commit to the 14-day on-ramp and post your block entry delta at the end of week 2. Then load up the advanced session design episode to stack deeper work on top. Keep saying, "I choose to because," and keep giving yourself evidence. That's how you build the 2030 brain you want. Key transformation, challenge, next step. The big shift is this: you're not fighting willpower, you're training your nervous system so plasticity, focus, and executive control work for you, not against you. Run the 14-day on-ramp exactly as laid out and track your block entry delta, accidental opens, and shipped units. Post your week 2 entry time change in the comments so we can calibrate your next moves. If you want the advanced session design, deeper loops, placement at the 70% cliff, and pro-level resets, watch the next episode queued right here. Subscribe so these anchors, resets, and identity locks keep compounding without you thinking about them. End the scroll tax. Build the 2030 brain you actually want.